So with respects to your training routine back then, you trained 4 days a week when you were preparing for contest. What did that look like? Was it like an upper lower? What was the split like back then? Or did it always change?
No, no, split is the same as it is today. Perhaps the
Okay.
order changes occasionally, but basically I do back and biceps together, shoulders and calves together, chest and triceps together, legs. And in terms of order, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I would always have chest and triceps, I would say, on day 1. Then shoulders and triceps would have, shoulders and calves would have to be on day 3, because those are similar. So that'd be 1 and 3, or if I flipped it around, it'd be 2 and 4. But those would be set for that reason. And the same with shoulders and calves and legs. I wouldn't have those 2 days in a row. So that was always a staple thing. A lot of this stuff, we've mentioned Ben Howard. He definitely knows these things, because there is out there on the internet, things that were published in forums back in the day. But I used to be a big believer in deadlifting. Dillam technique, I think, is crucial. I cringe at some of the deadlifts I see for 2 reasons. I cringe at the crap technique that I occasionally see, and I also, on the other side, cringe at the lack of weight and effort that I often see with deadlifts as well. I miss seeing people who are strapped on and pulling weight, with good technique, but are really pulling it. But anyway, so I used to deadlift every other week, because I used to think it was just too much every week. And I used to squat for legs every other week as well. So I would never deadlift and squat in the same week. So 1 week I'd be doing squats, next week I would do deadlifts as part of my back workout. So I would do it that way around. And then equally deadlifts, sometimes I would do it second exercise with big heavy weight. Sometimes I'd do it fourth exercise with a slightly lighter weight, or I'd maybe do it fourth exercise.
Okay.
And the same with squats, sometimes first, sometimes second, sometimes third. Mix it up so that there is different weight going through your spine and your knees and your hips and your joints.
So based upon what I'm hearing, you did 2 sets per exercise. So you had, for example, 4 chest exercises that you would do, and you do 2 sets apiece. Sometimes you would pyramid up, sometimes you would do a back off, depending on how the first set went, basically. And the order was always different. I'm kind of giving a synopsis here, but the question that follows is, so that was roughly 8 sets a week, basically, for a given body part, depending on the body part.
And in some cases less. So 4 sets for chest and back and quads and shoulders, and 3 sets for biceps. Sorry, 3 exercises. Wow. 3 exercises.
Yeah. So 2 sets apiece.
Yeah. 2 sets. So 4 exercises on chest, 2 sets apiece. Yeah, 8 sets.
8 sets.
And then on smaller body parts, so biceps and triceps, I do 3 exercises, 2 sets.
The physique you built in today's world of, the volume getting pushed in the social media, like volume, you built a remarkable physique doing much less than what the recommendations are today, the generalized recommendations, So I think that's really cool.
Or the people today make remarkable gains wasting so much time in the gym. I mean, that's just my slightly bro science, slightly tongue-in-cheek, and it's meant to be a little bit. But if you do 15 reps, what are the first 5 doing, in my opinion?
Oh, interesting. So even in terms of the rep range, because that's right, you mentioned you did, so was that 4 to 6 reps per exercise? That was for every single exercise?
Yeah, I might get up to 8 sometimes, but I never used to get to 10.
And that's the same for biceps and triceps, like even lateral raise, like shoulders, same thing?
There's some movements that there's an exception, but
okay,
this isn't one of those, it's an exception and it's on everything.
Right.
If you think about your core and bread and butter, so exceptions, calves, I would sometimes go more reps, but only some people go, calves have to be with more because they're so strong and they have to be more reps. Well, no, I think if you find the right machine so that you can put the weight on without squashing yourself, I would still be trying to put enough weight on normally a leg press, toe press thing, so that I could basically lift it up 6, 7, 8 times with my calves. That said, we would sometimes do, I say we, not the royal we. There's a lot of this on social media. They talk about we. But we just mean you. When I say we, I'm talking about when I was competing and I had a training partner. I've had about 5 training partners in my entire life. So they tend to last, yeah? So me and my training partner, would also do stuff like 15, 10, 5 on calves. So we do 15 reps, which was absolutely to failure, drop a bit of weight, do another 10, drop a bit of weight. And one of my training partners, Gareth, was like, this isn't 15, 10, 5. We're just doing a set of 30. I'm like, well, if you want to see it like that, we see it like that. So, you know, and that was something that we found useful for calves, but also really heavy. So on the whole, yes, you're entirely right in how you play it back. 4 to 8 reps maximum on basically everything, with occasional stuff like that, occasional 21s, occasional drop sets.
Yeah, but on average for most things it was 4 to 8, we'll say.
Yeah.
And preferably 4 to 6 for you, right?
Yeah.
So that is really cool to hear. And I feel like maybe you want to speak to this as far as recovery days, rest days, and just people potentially pissing away a whole bunch of time, that maybe they could be getting much better results doing much less if the sets are done in a way that is allowing for that potential growth to occur. How important is the failure thing for that, do you think? Training to failure on that aspect of things, not just the lower rep range, but
in my opinion, there's 2 ways of looking at this. There will be the scientists who will have a better answer than me, who will be able to speak to the physiology of it, and they'll either tell me I'm right or they'll tell me I'm wrong, and I'm not going to disagree. However, there's the other thing that keeps you coming back to the gym, or that keeps me coming back to the gym, which is enjoying what I'm doing. Yeah. And for me, part of the enjoyment, a big part of the enjoyment, it was knowing that I'd pushed myself to the absolute limit. And so for me, that was around the 4 to 8. And alongside that, trying to get strong, trying to be able to move heavy weight. There's part of it is the, you know, physiologically what works, but then there's the part of it, the what keeps you coming back and what keeps you training hard. Because if you're doing it picture perfect according to what, you know, what the scientist says, but you're only training at 8% of your of your best, or whatever needs to be is defined as what you need to do for optimal, 80% of the optimal, my opinion is that getting to 100%, I'll be outworking that person and I'll get better results.
That's a great way of putting it, because it's definitely got to be factored in. You could be doing everything right on whatever's on paper, and right, is it, you know, that's the other thing. It's quote unquote optimal based upon some interpretation of some sort of data. We can kind of go on that path, but you know, we won't. So just to trickle back, so that was, you hit everything once per week, essentially, each body part directly. Okay, cool.